Hey guys, what's going on? Legion here playing more RuneScape Dragonwilds. Welcome to a Daily Gaming XP Grind episode 70. So right now we're actually looking for sheep and ram to kill, as obviously we've talked about this a tremendous amount. This is just basically how we're going to be collecting resources to work on cooking, as it takes an incredibly long amount of time. But basically we're also going to be collecting dwellberries and flax while we're out here. The reason we're going to be collecting flax, if you missed our last episode, is a few days ago, they basically went over a little bit more about what we're going to be getting when range comes to the game. It doesn't look like we're going to be getting a lot of new monsters. They didn't really mention that, but they did mention how we're going to be able to build crossbows. They're going to be one-handed, and they are going to require flax. And I'm guessing that each different upgrade will still require flax. It seems that we're going to make some sort of limbs that are going to be crafting the crossbow itself, and it's going to require flax. So obviously I think that's going to look a lot like basically bronze to make, and then the next up, which I guess would be iron and so forth. So that's pretty much why we want to start collecting flax, as it's going to allow us to basically make crossbows. We already have 200 plus flax banked right now, but obviously it seems like they're still going to be using materials in the process of new items that come to the game. So I think it wouldn't hurt really to have extra sort of lying around. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to need 200, but we always like to collect things in an incredible mass quantity. So I don't think we should just sort of change that now. I think we should still do that as we always have. So anyway, I think that the range update is going to bring lots of exciting things to the game. If you didn't really hear me talk about it before, basically it looks like there's going to be special trick shots that they're going to add and different things like that. So we're going to switch to magic really quick, as some of these got away. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that one, and we did get him, so that's good. But basically, it looks like potentially that these trick shots won't necessarily be beneficial with the creatures or monsters that are currently in the game, but I feel like that's really going to take effect once we see other creatures that sort of have mechanics, sort of almost like Velgar, right? Those trick shots could definitely be beneficial with something like that, or potential future dragons or other creatures that are going to be coming to the game. Not so much animals that are in the game, but overall I think it's great. And they talked a little bit about some other things as well. I believe it was quorum, so I think that's what I read, that basically that's going to allow you to eventually poison your bolts. So I think that's really cool that we're going to have poison come to the game. I really like the direction that the developers are taking the game, and definitely listening to feedback from players, which I think is also really great, helping sort of aim the direction in the game, so that way the players are happy. And I just think that's a great way to do it. Obviously they want to make it their game, but at the same time I think it's important when you sort of let the players tell you what you want. And I think that's important, because ultimately a lot of games come out that we're really, really excited about, and then somehow in the midst of all of it, the graphics are great, everything seems to be going well, and then they sort of miss certain things, and they might seem like small things, but in the end, it sort of somehow might be the demise of the actual game, just by little things that sort of didn't go as we all thought they might. So I really like the way they're doing that. And as far as our progression in the game, I think we're making incredible progress. Obviously, it takes time, and that's the same thing for everyone. I obviously invest quite a bit of time trying to progress further on my quest to max. But obviously, I think that it's just going to be very interesting to see the new creatures that they're going to be putting into the game. I think we're going to see a lot of familiar creatures that we have seen in RuneScape. Obviously, the other version that I'm speaking of. So anybody who hasn't really played the older RuneScapes, if you were to go from this to that and you've never played that before, I'm not sure how you might actually sort of intertwine with it, because it's a completely different game, basically. So I'm not sure it's for everyone, but obviously I really enjoyed it for about 20 years. So obviously that was a great time for us, and it's definitely not for everyone though. And that's not really a bad thing. It just, everybody's sort of got a style. I definitely feel like this game takes everything to a completely different level, and it sort of brings new life to all of it. So it's going to be really exciting to see all the content they come out with it and quests and things like that, or even how they sort of have taken some of the names of quests and sort of add them in here a little bit. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see what they do. But it seems like we're going to probably have to potentially. I guess we were okay there. I thought we were going to probably have to go a different route. We're running out of that energy rather fast, but I think we're going to be, for the most part, okay. We've just got to get these wolves killed here because they're obviously a threat. So they are destroyed. I wish I had brought my arrows. I don't have them in my inventory. I need to start shooting down all this rune essence again. So I am going to grab some arrows really quick. Uh, it's an important thing to basically have these things set up so I can be as efficient as possible. I thought I saw a little bit more food. I guess not. But yes, as efficient as possible because obviously doing these things that we do over and over again, you want to take advantage of it and make sure you're using your time wisely. I'm just trying to find my arrows really quick. Obviously, I'm a lot more organized than I used to be, but I still have a difficult time at times just basically because of the mass amount of things that I do in a game, trying to keep everything together. But I'm sure anybody else who plays the game quite a bit is experiencing the same sort of thing. I've also talked a little bit about potentially if you were to play the game for just basically an entire day and you were to collect dwellberries all day, I would imagine that you would be able to get an insane amount of XP. I think it would just be this huge lump sum. So if you feel like you're sort of behind, which I don't really think anyone's behind, I think that everyone should be fine. I feel like the progression that you will have, even if you feel like you're behind, you're going to be okay because obviously things are going to come into the game very slowly. And I think that there's going to be plenty of time to sort of catch up on everything as it comes to the game. So obviously I'm sort of going a different route. I'm sort of mass farming everything and getting loads of XP. And I guess I just love the grind. So it's obviously different for everyone and everybody wants to get a different experience while playing the game. So there's really no right way. Obviously it's your journey and your experience in RuneScape Dragonwilds. So, but obviously I like to shoot those down. So it's important because then you get to come back and collect them in gigantic sums. And I understand not everyone's going to want to do that. It's just what I do. I happen to like to collect loads of those at once and get bulk XP. Is it faster? I do think it is because basically if you were to use your little blast spell, I can't think of what it's really called right now. Basically, you could blow up a ton of rune essence at once versus potentially only being able to get the ones that are there at that time. So I really like to just stockpile them and then get them all at once. Let's see if we can get these deer without sort of... We got them. That was actually quite crazy. That's another thing that's kind of cool too. If you actually play the game quite a bit and you shoot down these rune essence, obviously I missed that shot, but over the course of time, you're going to get a lot better at actually shooting the rune essence down and then ultimately your aim. So it can actually benefit you quite a bit in the future, I believe, once we start having to fight monsters in the game that sort of have different mechanics with range. Obviously, magic seems a little bit easier, so I'm not quite sure because I don't think range is as easy. But then again, obviously, right now, range isn't in the game, so they might actually have a little cursor that you can sort of auto-aim. I'm not sure how that's going to look, so maybe all my practicing with aiming won't really matter at all, but I think it should. I think magic's a little bit different, right? It's not one of those things. Well, I guess even magic should have been like that. Potentially having to make the shots that were required. I don't know why it would be any different. If you really think about it, there should be some skill involved potentially with magic. It might actually make it a lot harder and less fun and enjoyable. So maybe they went right with magic. I'm not quite sure. But when it comes to range, I mean, I believe there should be some skill involved. I don't really think they need to add autos because I feel like if you just had an auto aim, it just doesn't seem like that would be how you would want to sort of approach that. But we'll see what happens, and either way, I'm sure I'm going to be happy regardless. I wish we were getting ranged XP, but it's not that far away, just because I really like to use range in the game. So I guess we're going to run around and shoot down Rune Essence, even though I really don't want to. It's not like I'm getting XP in the initial little run that I do, but obviously it's important because just after doing it maybe 10 times, you're going to have 30 essence at each little spot. So yes, it takes a little bit of time, but I mean, we're grinding here, so really I guess it's going to be something that's expected. I guess I just wish my energy didn't run out so fast. It would make it a little bit better, but ultimately, where's the third one? There it is, right in my face. So you can see here that my accuracy actually got quite great with range, and I definitely attribute that to the fact that I constantly do this with the essence. And if you go a little bit faster, you're going to miss more shots, but for the most part, I think we've actually gotten quite good with it. There's some red berries here. I guess we may as well pick them. We're right here. There's actually another red berry up there, but I don't really want to go all the way up there just to get that. So this is interesting. Sort of just run into these goblins. But I guess whatever. It's a little bit of attack XP that we wouldn't have got if they weren't here. So it's not a lot, but it's something. So let's go ahead and switch back to our bow now. And then get out of here and start shooting down the rest of this essence. Obviously, this is going to be really important to keep working on this. Because if we're to get to 1,000,000 runecrafting XP before Valhalla comes to the game, we're going to have to keep doing this. Even though it's not the most fun thing. After you do it for such a crazy amount of time, it's not that great. I'm also really interested, I've talked about it a little bit. What are the new areas going to look like when it comes to Rune Essence? Are we going to get bigger nodes, potentially more XP because they're larger? I'm not sure if they plan to, or want to change that, because obviously you still want to have, obviously, you want people to keep playing the game. So the easier you make things, I think that sort of takes away from the game in reality. So just going to have to wait and see. I just missed a ton of shots on that one. That was ridiculous. But it's going to be interesting. Looks like they're going to be adding some different skills to the log. And then they were talking about adding ammo slots, so that way it doesn't have to take up one of your inventory slots. So I like a lot of the different things that are going to be going on with range. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be really happy with it. Except the fact that there's going to be no new monsters. But ultimately, I've talked a lot about that as well. It doesn't really make sense to add monsters because the new materials, obviously, you wouldn't get new materials because those skills aren't currently in the game. So you'd basically just be getting this, like, monsters, which will be fun to fight. But at the same time, those materials you're going to get would still have to be relative to what's already currently in the game. You can't just start adding a bunch of monsters because we all want them, and then they don't necessarily do anything for the game. You're sort of taking away new content that could actually be really useful and provide things that we can all get really excited about. So I don't think that's a solution. Obviously, it's a quick fix, but usually something like a quick fix is not really the way to go. So I think it's been done quite right. So I'm just going to take a second here. Obviously, we had to go to sleep, and we're going to see if we can't potentially find a little bit more sheep and ram to kill. These have respawned. So you can see here, basically in a day span, a lot of these will respawn. And if you're just killing sheep and ram for different resources, then you can expect to be able to do this quite a bit in a day. So it's not really, obviously I never really thought about cooking now the way that I do then, if that's quite a bit to say. But basically, I never really thought about cooking when I first started playing the game and grinded a ton. It was not something I sat there and thought, okay, we're going to have to really work hard at this. I guess I didn't realize how bad the cooking XP was at that point. And now that I know, it's obviously something that I see as we're going to really have to work hard at this. Not because it's hard itself, but because it's time consuming. And then we've obviously got to see they're going to raise the XP, I'm guessing, which I've talked about. I believe 10 levels. I think that makes sense. That way you can still keep putting in content into the game and you don't rush everything and sort of push it all out at once. But I think there's a lot of questions with that, but they will be answered in time. It's just more like, is it going to be just like the XP that's going to be required to get to those next 10 levels? I'm very curious to what that's going to look like. Obviously, I don't know, and that's going to be crazy because I've got to wait all the way till December to find that out, as well as everyone else. But it's just interesting to me to think that I don't know what it's going to look like, but at least once we see what the next 10 levels is going to look like, we can still see what they're aiming at. We can see if it's going to be something crazy. We can see if it's just going to keep pretty much with what they've been doing. I don't think that it's always going to be like that, though. So it's really hard. You can't say that, okay, it looks like they still kind of went the same route with the little amounts of XP. I just don't see it. Because ultimately, even if they did for the next 10 levels, I think that you could say they'll easily change it once obviously, like at level 80, just like in the old RuneScape, I think those are going to be tougher levels to get. And it should be. I think the further along that you're progressing, there should definitely be more work involved in actually leveling up your character. I think that makes a lot more sense. So I think we're probably going to kill these couple sheep and ram here. And then we're probably going to go back to base, sort of do an XP update. Even though we really just worked on magic and attack, I think we still need to do it because we always try to do it at least once in a video. Sometimes we do it twice, actually, just to sort of let people know where we're at. And, not everybody watches every episode. Maybe they don't make it through the whole thing. So I try to actually switch that up a little bit of when I'm actually talking about my XP update. So just in case someone doesn't want to watch the full video, which is completely fine, they can just sort of tune in really quick and just kind of, if they're interested, get an idea of where we're at. So that's pretty much going to be all of these that we're going to be killing right now. Obviously, we can keep running around for hours here, but that's not really the point. I think the point is to slowly work at this and keep progressing towards our goal. It's crazy how dark it is, even though it's daytime. There we go. It's sort of just adjusted. So we've got quite a bit of resources for cooking already. So it happens quite fast in the grand scheme of it. So let's go ahead and put all this here. But we're getting lots of bones too, animal bones. So obviously a lot of people probably aren't going to get it at this point in the video. But we'll talk about it another time later because I think it's really important to talk about that. Animal bones are going to be huge because this is probably going to be the beginning part of prayer when you have to bury bones. I'm pretty sure that animal bones, I mean, it just makes sense. So these are going to be used to bury to get XP for prayer. So basically you set yourself up to basically really enjoy new skills when they come to the game. And so there's lots of ways you can prepare for new content that's going to come. Anyway, let's go over an XP update. 301,000 attack XP. We've got 1 million woodcutting XP. Construction 2,009,000 XP. Runecrafting 579,000 XP. Magic 89,000. Mining 4,082,000, artisan 4,094,000, and cooking 236,000. I thought my magic would go up a little bit more than that from killing all those creatures, but it's okay. It's not really that big of a deal. We are going to take a little bit of water and food because it seems like something that's been sort of neglected. We don't really pay enough attention to that, and that's actually really important to make sure your character is hydrated and that he's fed. So obviously that's going to pretty much do it for this episode, but we really appreciate you guys watching our content. And until tomorrow, Legionuda out.